If you have just joined us, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. Let's now introduce our guest, starting with the visitor, because Coach Renaldo Cortez Ripgates is now a citizen in South Africa. He doesn't want to go back to the US anymore. And I'm certain after a few months, you will see Coach Cortez Pickering also here, which means he would have also decided not to go back to the US anymore. Coach, a very good afternoon and a warm welcome to Africa at Play.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, how's South Africa treating you so far?
Beautiful. I love the food, the people. We traveled to Durban and I felt like I was back in California. It's such beautiful green rolling hills with the mountains, and I love God's creations, the animals. So we went to a big five safari. Oh, it was so good to be one with all the animals.
Interesting indeed. You see, the man sitting next to you came to South Africa many years ago as a visitor. But look at him, he's still here.
Yeah, he does not want to leave.
That's the beauty of South Africa right there.
Yes.
Let's also welcome the legendary coach, Coach Renaldo Cortez Ripgates. Coach, a very warm welcome to Africa at Play. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's good to be back, man.
Interesting indeed. Coach, let's go back to you. Yesterday, I got to witness you in action. Unfortunately, I couldn't stay long because I had to come on Africa at Play. And it was awesome to see how excited the kids were by just seeing you before you say a word, before you even take them through the corners of what basketball is all about. Let's talk about the basketball coaching clinics that took place yesterday at the Mandeville Sports Center in Johannesburg. How did it go? How did the kids welcome you?
It went great, and may it be a surprise, but I too was young at one time, a very young boy, and fell in love with the game of basketball. And then to see back in the 60s and 70s, you only had games on Sunday on TV. And it was always Boston Celtics, New York Knicks, Philadelphia 76ers. I grew up near Detroit, so Dave Bing and Oscar Robertson with Cincinnati Royals, those were my two heroes because we could see them play on TV. And then each year my dad would take me to a game to see Dave Bing and Oscar Robertson. So seeing the very best really gave me that dream of I want to play basketball and rise to the top. But there was only one problem, that I couldn't play in the NBA. My nickname in college was credit card because I could barely jump over a credit card. So I had that Larry Bird disease of, I couldn't jump much. And but I loved the game, and then I knew as a young boy I knew that I wanted to be a coach, even at the age of 8. And so I worked in a car factory for a year after high school. I hated every single day. And that voice kept saying, you need to go to college. If you want to be a coach, you've got to go to college and get your education. And if you're lucky enough, maybe you get to play. And I give credit to God that door opened up. I left the car factory. I went to college. I made wonderful relationships. My college coach just died 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no.
Age 87, but he lived a good life. He and I had a very good relationship, and so I thank him for that opportunity back then. That helped me, leading me to become a coach, and God just has kept opening doors. This is a door open to come to South Africa. This is my 6th continent that I have been to and coached. Next year's Antarctica.
Amazing indeed.
I don't know if they have a basketball court in Antarctica, but I'm going there.
Yeah, you'll cross over that bridge when you get to it.
Right.
Wow, amazing indeed. Let's bring to the conversation Coach Renaldo Cortez. Coach, how did you meet Coach Cortez Pickering?
So it's an amazing story. I was college graduate from University of Pittsburgh at Johnstown, 1995. Went to a free agent NBA camp. There was at the time a top basketball agent who was hosting camps. So basically, where you You go, you try your hand, you pay the money to get there. It's your dream. You fund it. Get to the camp. It's 400 players, a couple referees, a handful of scouts, and I got 4 minutes to play on the court. Maybe a $3,000 in USDA trip. Coach was sitting in the bleachers, pair of shorts, little polo shirt, baseball hat, pair of tennis shoes. Nothing extracurricular, just a guy in the bleachers. And myself and another player, Tron Jenkins, he was the point guard for University of Akron. We're cussing and yelling like, what the hell was this? You know, we couldn't get on the court. And coach says, hey guys, I just want to share something with you. This is your dream. You have to go for it, and there's no handouts. But I will tell you, I have a camp coming up. You do have to get there, but I'll give you an opportunity to show what you can do. There's going to be NBA coaches or former players or CBA coaches and people of the profession who are going to be there. If you play well, then you'll get an opportunity to go play in the top NBA Summer League in Long Beach, California. So I was blessed and fortunate. I made the trip. Nothing but the top players in the camp. I was fortunate to make the All-Star team, and just as sure as Coach has said to his word, you know, I was on Team Aquarius, which was his team. And that was how we met. There was no handouts. You know, you show up, you want to do this. There's no extra giveaways. You produce or go home or keep trying. It's as simple as that. So that's how we first met.
Yeah, what an exciting journey. 15:15 Central African time. Coach, I want to bring you back to this conversation. When talking basketball, for an example, I'm interested whether you met the sport or the sport met you, because in the United States of America, basketball is a culture. It's almost like you walk out of your mother's house and the first thing you see is someone playing basketball.
Yeah, it's everywhere. And like soccer, it's a game that you can work on your skills by yourself. If you have a basketball, there's so much of the skill sets that you can improve on. And yeah, it's everywhere in America.
Exciting indeed. And when you met Coach Renaldo Cortez, how was the interaction?
I recognized that there was a lot of players there, and they were really not getting the attention that they needed. And so I was going to be hosting this camp the next week, and I had other NBA coaches and scouts there. So everything's about word of mouth. If some coach or scout likes a player, then they're going to talk about it to others, and the word spreads to where that player gets the recognition and hopefully the opportunity.
What did you witness yesterday on court? Is South Africa talented in basketball?
Yeah, I saw that there's passion, that these kids, these players have passion for the game. And as I told them, you have to love the game. You can't be here, I have to run, I have to work on my shooting, I have to work on my dribbling. It's about, I love the game and I want to be out here, even though it's hot and it's asphalt. It's not in a nice, luxurious gymnasium. Sometimes we have those conditions too. But if you love the game, it can be the worst of conditions, but your mind is about, I love this game. I want to get better. I want to reach my goals.
Incredible indeed. 15:18 Central African time. We're talking all things global basketball from the African continent to different parts of the world, with the NBA being a big league that every player across the globe would love to see themselves playing there. Sometimes you might not even make it there, but you could make it as a mentor, because not everyone is meant to be an elite player, but you could just be a good coach. We've seen it in football with Jose Mourinho. Never kicked a soccer ball, perhaps by mistake when it hits him on training, but he became one of the great football coaches. And even in basketball, you do find rare scenarios like that with someone who never made it big in the game, but made it big as a coach. Yesterday, AWii Sports Africa hosted Coach Cortez H. Pickering for an elite basketball coaching clinics, and AWI Sports is pioneered by husband and wife, Coach Renaldo Cortez Ripgates, together with his lovely wife, Ma'am Pumzile Cortez Ripgates. Coach, you had an incredible journey in as far as basketball is concerned. You became the NBA scout, and I'm certain with just that role, you get to meet different characters from different parts of the world. Talk to us about that journey.
Yeah, that's the great thing about basketball. There's no borders, there's no boundaries, because everyone loves basketball. So I have taken teams to China 13 times. We'd go for 30 days, and these players are trying to get job opportunities in China because they pay very well. I have also coached in Dubai and Kuwait, the Philippines, and I love meeting different people, their cultures. If the camera showed my belly, I love food. And so last night we had a wonderful meal at the casino. So I love meeting different people, different cultures, and basketball is that bridge. And so God has been good to me, and I've met, I was part of many wonderful people in the game. Jerry West is one. I've spent much time with Yao Ming, Dikembe Mutombo, who was a wonderful man that we lost a couple years ago. And these are simple people, too. They have their talents in the game, but it's great to know who they are as a person.
Coach Cortez, I want to bring you on this one, because what we are talking today, our topic of the day that we've discussed earlier on, is that a sporting career is a very short career that could take between a decade and 2 decades. And then one wonders what happens afterwards when it comes to retirement from professional sport. And the question we are asking is, should governments and relevant stakeholders in terms of the corporate world employ these former athletes into the military situations, into schools, as mentors, as administrators, and many other departments where these retired athletes could be, could be kept going? Because a lot of times we also get to witness people who used to be big stars and they've not been able to utilize their finances accordingly. And you are told this guy was a great basketballer or a great footballer, but when you look at him now after retirement, he's penniless. And one wonders what went wrong. And we're thinking perhaps if they're given employment after retirement, that could just keep them going. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a very wise path, but I do want to say this. Sports in general, basketball in particular, the system that runs on the soul of the sport is based on everything opposite of J-O-B. When you look at just a job, or just, I like to call it just over broke, because you're one paycheck away from being outside. A lot of these players have gotten away from what made them successful in the sport. So when they were involved with the sport, they had system, they had discipline, they had different environments that taught them marketing and sales. So when you stop using those skills and attributes, and you have to go back to basically, if you're a millionaire, you go back to working for $6 to $8 to $12 in USD an hour, or let's say 200, 300 Rand a day, which for a lot of people is pretty decent, 300 Rand. You can function on that. The reality is those are not numbers that make sense to living wages. So anything that depreciates the ability to be equitable and valuable in your day-to-day, then that's actually, in sports, we look at it as performance-based. If I put up 100 shots and I'm not hitting a certain percentage of shots, I keep training, I keep practicing, I keep trying to hit those numbers because I do want those percentage points to go up. So in the same as it relates to the working environment or the education environment, athletes should never, ever stop becoming the highest performer in the area of their athletics. Corporate athletics, fashion athletics, education athletics. In other words, it's competition to be the best, but never really competition against others as much as it is against your own personal ego and your inability to continue to thrive and learn. So I think if we continued education, transferable skill services and skill sets that can, what you learn in the game, now you can apply it in day-to-day life. If you're a person who was really good with kids or you're really good at education, we should look at how do you start a school or academy. If you're a person who's really good at building community, let's not just stop at, building a team. Let's look at, how do we build up a city or how do we build up a neighborhood like an Alex Township? Let's not just be comfortable or you're good at construction. So I think we have to look at how we transfer playing into real life performance.
Profound indeed. Coach Pickering, have you been able to throw your eye into the Basketball Africa League, BAL, which is entering into its 6th edition this year? Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I do see games occasionally, and I see that there's talent there. And so for college and NBA purposes, they are on the radar, and it's a matter of if there's a player that meets the need of a team that's back in the USA.
Is basketball a compulsory sport in the US?
Is it?
Is it a compulsory sport, like in a school setup?
Yes, it is.
Because I'm thinking for African basketball to make it to the elite level, it makes more sense for me to have sport as compulsory. Of course, not everyone is going to play basketball, but those that plays basketball from a tender age then have an opportunity to grow up the ladder into different categories of the game until the elite level, the same with other sporting codes. What would you like to say to those that are in charge of the school systems on the African continent to consider sport as compulsory?
Well, I think they need to offer an opportunity that is, and this is what's going on in the U.S., that it's very entertaining. So to the fans, to the media, so it's not limited just to the players. When you create a great entertainment package, the game of basketball where there's a lot of energy and a lot of excitement like you see on NBA games, what happens is there's so much more enthusiasm. It's not just the game, it's everything that's wrapped up into it. And so I just really believe, you could watch a game outside or in a small gym, but if you really want the game to grow, it needs to be appealing. And so create that entertainment, because it is a fun game, but it's more than just the 40 minutes or 48 minutes of the action. It's everything outside and in between it, during the timeouts, etc.
Do you have a favorite basketball position?
Favorite basketball position? Well, I mean, the game now is so much three-point shooting. I guess what I love is the player that can do it all. He doesn't just shoot threes. He can drive. Maybe he's got a smaller man on him, and so he's going to flash under the basket, post up. I like that multi-type player.
Versatility,
and it's a positionless game now. You don't really say, okay, he's a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or 5. Everybody's got to be very mobile and run the floor. And so I like that guy that's, like you say, has that versatility.
Exciting indeed. Coach Cortez, basketball, like any other sport, is not just about the playing personnel, but it's also about different stakeholders, those that does the work behind the scenes. It could be the team manager, the physiotherapist, it could be the coaches, it could be the umpires. Are we training a lot of those on the African continent from what you've assessed so far since you've made it to African soil? Because it's one point trying to build great players that will make it to an elite level, but who's going to be the umpires? Who's going to coach them? Who's going to administer the proceedings of the game of basketball if no one is being trained?
I totally agree with you. I think the way the game sits right now, there's a lot of inequality and there's a lot of unnecessary deficiencies. The reason being is that there are some people who are gatekeepers, in my professional opinion, and personal. And because they've made it to a level of success, they almost become stagnated in the process of development. And if they don't get to put their thumbprint on it, then they block the process. So I think where the game can continue to grow is that we continue to build up from the lower levels with children, with the coaches at the junior levels, the amateur levels where you have like league competitions. But also we have to look at the bigger pieces. Like in America, a lot of parents are very involved with their children's athletics. I think that there's a lot of lower equity when it comes to parents being involved with the growth of their children. I mean, whether it be job performance or, the ability to see them, but parents need to make the sacrifice because these young people did not ask to be here. So if you don't show interest in what your child is doing, that's a major problem. That affects their ego, their confidence, and also it affects the community. The house affects the next house, and then you have a neighborhood of young people whose parents aren't involved. So once you get that, the technical components of the game now, parents may want to become coaches. So in the States, a lot of parents become coaches. They have junior teams. Then you have what we call the AAU circuit. I remember in '85 where AAU kind of started to take off. It was just a super league, but it grew to now where players are actually through NIL, they're being paid to play the game for image and likeness. So it does have positive sides to it. Like Coach said, it's the entertainment piece, but you have to be considering the development of each one. It is necessary. Technical staff, referees, coaches. I mean, just because you're a coach doesn't mean you know what you're doing. So I think there has to be continual education on how to become a better coach.
That's the voice of Coach Renaldo Cortez, Ripgate's former Soweto Panthers coach, and now with AWii Sports Africa, making certain that he broadens the reach in terms of developing an African child to make it to the elite level of the sport of basketball. We also have Coach Curtis H. Pickering from the United States of America, who came all the way to come and plow back to an African child. And we say big ups to the coach and salute for taking time from his family to come and be with us on the African continent and share the knowledge. Coach, earlier on you spoke about basketball in the 60s and the 70s, where you used to watch the greats on TV. Little did you know that you were going to be called a legend yourself for one day. Comparing the era of the 60s and the 70s to the current, has the quality of basketball gone up the sky, or it has sort of dropped? And what is also interesting is that back in the days, there wasn't as much money as there is now.
Yeah, you know, the game, the players are just amazing athletes, and they spend a lot of time in the weight room, so they're very physically built. And the game in the 60s and 70s, players really didn't spend time in the weight room. I'd have to say they weren't as athletic as they are now, but money has very much affected and influenced the game as it is today, and so much of it is, quite honestly, about TV. So it is more entertainment now, but I have to go back to a player, I'm going to name two players, that really didn't get the respect they deserved back then. They weren't appreciated. One is Pistol Pete Maravich, and another one of my favorites, Earl the Pearl Monroe. They were amazing entertainers, but they were looked down on because they thought, oh, they're hot dogs. You know, they're throwing making passes behind the back, and they're spin moves. Earl the Pearl was just amazing. I loved watching him, and he came from a very small college in North Carolina, and fortunately they didn't overlook him because and I've met him, he's a wonderful guy. He's had a lot of health issues, but a wonderful man. And Pistol Pete and Earl did not get the respect that the game is today, but now players do talk about how much influence they had on Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas, on and on. Players talk about that's who they looked up to back then. So we all can look at a player today that we really admire. I could name many, but that's part of, you know, there are those entertainers that, wow, we're fascinated by them, and it inspires us to become the best we can be at the game.
Marvelous indeed. Coach Cortez, let's talk about the journey of AWii Sports. How far are you?
I would like to say we're probably in the first quarter. And I like to look at it as a long-term vision. So first quarter of many games to play, but we have our fundamentals in place now. We know where we want to go. We know why, and we know who our target is. And we know how to get to the goals that we want to achieve. We do realize that it's not just us. It's a we thing, not a me thing. So as we incorporate community and we continue to pour ourselves into areas where there's deficiency, it's a legacy journey. You know, when I'm long gone, I look forward to seeing AWii from the heavens, continuing to build and develop community, young people, and the game.
Coach Pickering, from what I've witnessed, when someone is passionate and they've devoted their lives to the game, it's almost like there's no such a thing as retirement. You retire for the media people to report about you, and subsequent to that, you pick up your basketball shoes and the basketball ball back to the basketball court. You've been at it for years. Let's talk about this journey and the legacy that you're leaving behind.
A big part of it is giving back to the game. If the game has been good to you, if God has been good to you, you want to give back and you want to help give others opportunities. I have a young man that played, or I take that back, he didn't play at Colorado, but he's from Lebanon. He attended University of Colorado. He was their team manager, and he loved the game so much, and a friend of mine called me and said, would you help him just to get started with, he's graduated from college. He has this burning desire to succeed in the game. So we met in Las Vegas where the NBA Summer League is, and that is the mecca of basketball because everybody's there, and even all the famous NBA people, they're accessible. You can go up and talk to them and get into a great conversation, whereas during the regular season, they're not approachable because they're really watching the game and, their jobs are always on the line, so to speak. But this young man, Michael, we met there in Las Vegas, and I could tell he had great IQ for the game. And so I was able to help him get opportunity in India with NBA India over there. Then he moved on to China, and he came back, needed opportunity, and I got him involved with Golden State Warriors. He's now full-time scout for them, very much climbing up the ladder. And I'm very pleased. I don't, take credit for it, but I did help open some doors for him, and he's around Steve Kerr and Steph Curry. He's helped train him in the practices. He's very much a fixture for the Warriors, and I'm just happy he's had that opportunity.
Exciting indeed. 15:39 Central African time. We take a short break. When we come back, we'll wrap up our basketball conversation with the two greats of the game, Coach Renaldo Cortez Ripgates, together with Coach Curtis H. Pickering, both of them from the United States of America. But of course, Coach Cortez has been in Africa for quite a number of years, and we are appreciative of his stay on the African continent because of the awesome work that he does on the ground. This is Africa at Play. Mr. Cortez, I want to talk about the Basketball Africa League. In a continent that comprises 54 African countries, is it okay, is it an ideal situation to just have 12 nations battling it out for the Basketball Africa League? I know the journey doesn't start there. It starts with the qualifiers until you get to the 12. But I mean, we could have more teams. We could have at least 24 teams, which sort of gives you half the number of nations we have in Africa. Your thoughts?
So I think with every seed, there's a process. As long as the process continues to grow and develop. Yes, there's 54 countries, some millions of people in the countries, and I would just guesstimate to say, on an average, and I'm not quoting this, I'm just general thought, at least 15 million young people per country, which tells me that there is so much opportunity for development. So what the NBA has done with Basketball Africa League, they've started the process. But it can't depend on, I look at that as a high-level tournament. It's not a full-scale league. It doesn't go for multiple months. It's just a few weeks, and then it's finished. We know basketball is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the time, actually 8 days a week. So there has to be an infrastructure that is on the local level, on the national level for each country, and then a kind of a corporate conversation that has to happen. But as it develops and grows, I mean, the upside is unbelievable. But I do have to say that, for me, God has really blessed me with this game. And I'm grateful and appreciative to me, Coach. There has to continuously be people who give back. because that's kind of like fishing. You know, you got to have the elders that go out and they teach you how to use the fish hook and bring in the great fish. And the game is a great fish, especially for women's basketball. We didn't talk about that much, but women's basketball is a huge opportunity. And I like fair play, fair exchange and pay and play. So it's very important, you know, that part of the game.
As we wrap up this conversation, what else is in the calendar of AWI Sports Africa for 2026?
So our strategy and goal is to ultimately put together a structure to be a professional organization for men and women, develop our basketball academy, and also be very involved with the development piece, because you can play games. The game is I like to say it's 1 to 10% play, and the other 90% is everything else, and that has everything to do with education and applying what you've learned, and that's the system of development. So players mustn't just show up dressed to play; they must show up ready to learn. And with our program, you know, it's we got winners, we play it back, and we define ourselves to arise and win. And it is the camp where teaching begins. And for me, the game does not stop teaching. So I'm still a student, and I'll continue to be.
Your goodbye comment?
If you have children who want to play the game, connect them with us through social media. You can go right to Google, pull up AWI Sports Africa, AWI Sports South Africa, send us an Instagram message or a Facebook, and just say, hey, I want to be a part of, you know, what we're doing. And we're here. We're here.
Coach, you heading back home later today. What's next on your schedule?
Well, what's next is where I live is a little bit cold, and I don't like cold weather. That's why I'm so happy here. But I will go spend some time with my mom, who is amazingly 99 years old. And so if she makes it to September 25th, she will be 100. And she's really of sound mind and has a great sense of humor. And so I will go spend some time with her in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then I have a college friend in Florida where it's nice and hot, and I'm going to go down and visit him for a week and get back into nice warm weather like South Africa here.
99 years is not a
Yes.
child's play, and we're counting down to a century. What do you talk about with your mom?
We talk about old childhood memories, and we have so many good ones. You know, our relatives, and we used to go on fishing trips into Canada where it's very much a wilderness, and then here's a lake with just plentiful fish. So we used to always go fishing up there, and we have a lot of great memories. And you know, she is happy, even at this age. She's very happy and a very sound mind, and that's unusual.
What did you like to say to young basketballers who are currently out of the court because of an injury and they think it's the end of the road?
Yeah, it really comes down to how bad do you want it. And I shared that yesterday. I talked about Tyrese Halliburton. Kobe went through it. The worst injury is tearing the Achilles tendon. And, you know, these players, you know, even Tyrese, he's made enough money. Kobe had made enough money, but they love the game so much, and they love challenges. When they face adversity, they quickly put a plan together. Okay, how can I overcome this adversity that I have? That's the beauty of these guys that have made it to the top. Nothing has come easy for them. And so then you see them facing such a difficult challenge. What do? They don't say, well, I've made enough money, I'm done. They want to make a great comeback. Chauncey Billups is another, and he made the comeback. And Coach Rip could name many others, but those are a few that stand out.
A comeback is always possible. Keep believing and hoping.
Yeah, and it's in the rehabbing is grueling, but you know, life is day to day, and so that's how you treat this a severe injury. You take it one day at a time, and you don't dwell on the negatives. You dwell on the goal, the prize that you're gonna one day at a time. You're gonna get back to who you were.
Coach Cortez H. Pickering, all the way from the United States of America, who visited Africa on a good cause to bring back hope to a young African child's dreams of playing basketball and making it to an elite level. Coach, thank you so much for visiting us on Africa at Play, and all the best moving forward. When you get home, please kiss your mom on the forehead and say 100 is coming in September.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here and for all your generosity.
Marvelous indeed. Coach, I know I said goodbye to you, but I've just remembered the Ratangbana Orphanage, the awesome work that you've done there as AWii Sports Africa. Please tell us a little bit as we say goodbye.
So thank you for that. They're very close to my heart and to my wife's heart. We're busy building a basketball court with our bare hands, literally. We've been working to fundraise because the children don't really have a safe place to play. And Alex is a really rough area. So if we can make some positive impact by putting a basketball court, dual court with a soccer post and whatnot, that's what we're busy working with now. And I really would love for anyone who has the ability to donate something. Any amount will help to put that court together. Once the work is done, and we've had amazing investment. Former NBA player who's now pastor was here with a whole church group from around the world. Corey Blackwell, he was number 28 pick for the Supersonics back in the 80s. He was very involved with the court project and those other pastors. We also had a bunch of young people who are considered to be unemployed youth in Johannesburg, but they were very busy. And we just, as a team, I shared the vision. And Ingrid, who's the founder of the orphanage, she said, no, we need to do something good for the children. So I think when people come together, like Coach said, you set a goal and you want to get back to a great space. And I look at the orphanage as an injury to community, an injury to family, an injury to our children and our city. To get back to the best part of us, we must remember the children and give them a safe place to be. So this is what that initiative is. So, yeah, they're very important.
Thank you so much, Coach, for the awesome work, and thank you for coming through to Africa at Play.
Thank you.